Howdy. Today we're looking at the Epitaph Prime. It is the signature secondary weapon of Sevagoth Prime, and it just came out with the Sevagoth Prime Access a couple weeks ago. I believe it's been, like a week or two? 2 weeks, I want to say now? It is quite snazzy. Epitaph was already very strong, and the Prime version just makes it even stronger. So, this will mostly be focusing on Epitaph as a primer. This weapon can very much be made to kill stuff, but this is not a video about killing stuff. This is a video about priming them with Epitaph. If you would like to see a video about making it for killing stuff, then let me know, because it can do some pretty humongous damage. However, it is mostly just single target if you build it that way. So, let's get to the stats. First, we are of course going to want to compare it to the Epitaph. What is the difference in the stats? So, the Epitaph Prime has slightly higher fire rate, double the crit rate on the explosion, which is irrelevant for the most part, significantly higher crit multiplier 1.8, which is obviously higher than 1.2x, and most importantly, is the explosion went from 8 meters to 10 meters. It also went up by 50% more damage. Then the charge shot just went up by 2% crit chance, a 0.4 to the multiplier, 10% status, and 15 damage. But we mostly just care about the quick shot radial attack. Now, Epitaph is honestly, the best primer in the game, right? Like, this thing is insane, and the reason why is because it's got that big explosion. It is a weapon with a very high status chance. You just spam it, the reload's fast, it's got decent ammo, and it has a big explosion that can apply lots of status effects. That's why it's such a good primer. And there's a lot of different ways you can make it good for priming. It inherently has cold force procs and blast damage on the explosion, of course. So let's simulate these enemies. You can see, even though the weapon has no cold procs or cold on the weapon, it's getting cold procs. Every shot has a forced cold proc. So that right there is a free status proc, which is amazing when you're priming stuff. Now. Let's show some priming builds, because I have quite a few. This is a weird build. I actually need to get rid of this. The main four I have are these ones. This 1, 2, 3, and I haven't named this one yet. I haven't gotten around to it. So let's start with the very basic one first, which would be a viral primer with the fortifier. Okay. I yawned way too much. So as the primer, we're going to want high status, a good priming status effect like viral, that is the main thing we want to use here. And then having a good status duration also helps so that it lasts longer before the status effects disappear from the enemy. So we have Augur Seeker and Perpetual Agony, so it lasts a very long time. We have Lethal Torrent for more multi-shot and fire rate, because multi-shot means more shots to apply status effects. Amalgam Barrel Diffusion for multi-shot and dodge speed. We don't need Galvanized Diffusion, we won't be getting kills, so getting the dodge speed is better. Stunning Speed here is nice, it gives status chance and a reload speed, which makes us shoot faster, because the reload is 0.6 at base, so Stunning Speed brings it down to 0.4. Very nice. Frostbite and Pistol Pestilence, giving us 120% more status, and it gives us viral on the weapon. We are now at 125% status chance. And then Prime Fulmination to increase the blast radius to a whopping 14.4 meters. That's a big explosion. We also have Pistol Ammo Mutation to help make sure we don't run out of ammo. Then the Arcane is Secondary Fortifier. This makes it so that when you damage Overguard, you steal the Overguard for yourself, which is very nice. and it lets you deal 8 times damage to Overguard. So even though this is built for priming, it can do decent damage to enemies with Overguard, which I will show in a minute. So this is a very basic build that's just meant to apply viral and give you a bit of Overguard in the process. And in this group right here, if I shoot the center, you can see it hit every single one of these enemies. 3 viral procs on that guy, not on him. 4, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2. So pretty consistently at least 2 viral procs on them. And you can just spam the crap out of this, and it can even freeze enemies if you shoot enough times. And because we have such high stats duration, it's actually going to freeze enemies for like 10 seconds almost, I think. Wait, I think, what's the base cold freeze duration? I think it's 4 seconds, and we have 180% stats duration. So, or maybe it's 3 seconds. Either way, it freezes them for a pretty decent amount of time. But it does some damage, you can see. This is without any armor strip. That's actually surprisingly not the most worthless amount of damage ever. Which is good, because it means we can kill, or not kill, but destroy Overguard easily. So these guys with Overguard here, if I shoot this guy in the face, I one-shot his Overguard with a priming setup. That's why secondary fortifier is so nice. And look at my Overguard. I just gained 3,700 Overguard. Didn't quite one-shot that time. It will be heavily dependent on RNG as to whether you get crits or not, because we have 50% crit chance, as well as how many shots you have from your multi-shot. But the crit is going to be the main deciding factor here. If you have a way to increase your crits without having to, use a mod in the process, like I'm on Sevagoth, for example, with this augment, then that's going to make it a lot easier to destroy Overguard. Very, very nice if you ask me. So we can destroy Overguard and we can get priming so that we can kill stuff faster. And the reason that's important is because you don't always have that built on a weapon, right? Like, let's see, what's the weapon I probably have gas on already? Comrex? No? Here we go. Gas built on Comrex. And then let us switch these back to non-Eximus units. So if I... Wait, actually Comrex is the worst example possible because it has viral on it. I just realized. That was almost really, really dumb. Come on. What's something that's got... Here, Shidu. Shidu, yes. Gas electric. Perfect. Shidu works perfectly here. And just to make my life easier, we will also switch to Uneru so I can build up procs real quick on these enemies. Now, first we're going to want to get some kills so I actually have all of my procs built up on Shidu, otherwise we won't be able to damage anything regardless. And then it will be hard to show off the point of priming when I can't even kill anything either way. One more. There we go. Now, we've reset these enemies. Give it a sec so the gas clouds disappear. And we simulate. So if I shoot this guy right here. 6 shots. You can see it did okay damage. Nothing amazing. But then if I like come over here to this guy and I prime a bunch and he's got all those procs on him, 6 shots is now going to be able to kill him, right? Almost, damn, not quite, but you can see it did significantly more damage, like double the damage. It should have been more than double the damage because of how many viral procs I had. I don't, oh, it's because I lost my stacks. But you get the point, right? Priming is important because it makes you do more damage. Now, this build right here is literally the same exact thing, except I have secondary dexterity instead, because if you don't need the survivability or the overguard shred from Fortifier, and you need combo duration instead, you can just slap on secondary dexterity to get the plus 7.5 seconds to your combo duration. Now, The next build is similar, except we've replaced, what is it? Augur Seeker with Scorch. And the reason for that is Scorch is a DOT. First of all, we get high stats, that's nice. But now we have heat on the weapon. We only need a little bit of heat because heat is a DOT. And DOTs, well, they're damage over time. That's the whole point. And when you deal damage over time, that means it can proc the overguard bonus you get. I need to lose the overguard I have right now, though. So I need these guys to shoot me. Yes. Thank you. Now die. Thank you. So, if it procs a heat proc and it just keeps ticking, it's just going to keep refreshing an overguard. And overguard has a 0.5 second gate, just like shield gating, but overguard gating. Look at that. See it ticking up? Because of the damage over time. So this way, even if you don't shred overguard immediately, you'll apply DOT to overguarded enemies and just keep getting overguard back over and over and over just for infinite overguard gating. The amount of survivability this gives you is ridiculous. I strongly recommend trying this in a build and going in like Steel Path Void Cascade and seeing how insane the survivability you can get from this kind of build is. Very, very good. Now, the main reason I would not use this over the normal build is two reasons, okay? Either you don't want to ruin Heat Inherits, which if you don't know what Heat Inherit is, you're going to want to look up a video. Or you need the higher viral weighting so you get more viral procs, but that's not usually too much of an issue. Now, finally, we have the same sort of build, except all the way in on heat procs. So now we have replaced another mod, that being Stunning Speed, with Prime Heated Charge, so that we get higher heat weighting, and that is for Heat Inherits. Now, if you don't know what Heat Inherit is, a quick TLDR is the very first heat proc on an enemy can determine the extra damage you get from all subsequent heat procs, or affect it, I guess. And the only things that can increase it of all the heat procs after the first one, like as a multiplier, would be heat as an elemental type. The more heat percentage you have, the bigger the bonus damage you get because of heat inherits, as well as faction multipliers. Those are the only two things that matter, to my knowledge. So with heat inherit, you would want super high heat. And Epitaph just so happens to be secondary, which means it gets primed heated charge. So we have primed heated charge and scorch for a massive 225% heat. So now we have viral and huge amounts of heat for big juicy priming for anything that would require heat. So a good example to show of the damage difference would be Hildren with a Blazing Pillage setup. Let us simulate these guys. I will cast Roar. They are still the Axtimus. Dang it, hang on. Ooga Beluga. There we go. Cast my 3. Start spamming my 2. 2, 3, 4, 5. 6,500 damage on a heat proc when there's 10 heat procs on the enemy. Now to properly show this off, I'm going to need to duplicate this, or actually I can just take viral off, right? Because that is obviously going to massively increase our damage. So we're going to take viral off so it's just the heat. Now we're using it purely for the heat inherit part. Right, it was like, what, 6,500 damage before? So now let's try that again, but with the heat inherit. You don't need to shoot multiple times. I'm just doing that out of habit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 24,000. Yes, we have 21 heat procs, but half of those heat procs were from Epitaph. And obviously Epitaph's solo heat procs aren't doing a lot, right? So like, look, if I shoot this guy, 388. Okay, so only about 1,300 or 1,100 damage or so of that was from the heat procs from Epitaph. So we're doing more than triple the damage because of heat inherit. That shows the importance of it. Now on top of that, with the heat inherit from this, or if you're just using the basic heat for the DOT for the extra overguard, he also has the added benefits of armor stripping. It's not a huge amount, but it strips 10% of the enemy's armor every 1 second for 5 seconds, so it can strip up to 50% of the enemy's armor. So that is going to help you do a lot more damage overall. Very snazzy indeed. I think that's mostly it. There are some other ways you can prime. You can try to fit more statuses on it if you are just shooting a lot. Like, where is this? This build, for example, if we duplicate this over here, override, because of the whispers in the wall stuff, we do have the radiation mod, which adds another status. Accelerated isotope. Here it is. So you could put this on, and now we have radiation and heat and viral and forced cold procs. The blast procs don't really matter because they run out. And on top of the statuses, having unique statuses means more damage on any weapon that has galvanized aptitude. That's not one of said weapons. Where it would be a weapon with galvanized aptitude. Here we go. Actually, Amprex. Here we go. Do I not? Never mind. Tiburon it is. Okay, there we go. Every extra status you have, every extra unique status gives even more damage. So that's a bigger benefit to priming stuff if you're using weapons that have galvanized aptitude or the equivalent on your secondary or shotgun or whatever. So priming is very important in the game, and it means much, much bigger damage. And I think Epitaph Prime is very much worth getting, and you can just farm relics to get this, whereas before, if you wanted Epitaph, you had to farm Railjack, which I know a lot of people hate. But now you can get a better version of it, and it's easier to get, honestly, than farming normal Epitaph is. So that's pretty cool. That's going to do it for the Epitaph Prime video, and it used for priming stuff. Big whoa. If you like the video, leave a like, subscribe. Adios.